All right, so you've given me a ton of stuff about Frederick Douglass.
Yeah.
A teacher's guide, student portfolio slides, even a presentation. And the kicker, there's this AI chatbot that lets you have a virtual conversation with Frederick Douglass.
You know, what's really interesting here is we're not just like exploring a biography.
Right.
These sources are all about you engaging and being a part of understanding Douglass's impact on American history.
It's like we have a time machine.
Yeah.
To one of the most influential people of the 19th century.
And that's important because, you know,
Yeah.
this isn't about just knowing facts.
Right.
It's about understanding slavery, abolition, and Reconstruction.
Yeah.
Through his experiences and his words.
Absolutely.
This is a story that's still so relevant.
Totally.
Even today.
Okay, so let's dive into this presentation. Humy.ai U.S. History Frederick Douglass presentation. I was like hooked by the opening narrative, Whispers of Freedom.
Oh, a good one. Yeah.
It just sets the scene so perfectly.
It really does.
So imagine young Frederick, right?
Yeah.
He can't read. He's forbidden from reading.
Right.
But he is desperate for knowledge. And he's like a sponge, soaking up every single word his mistress teaches her own children.
It's incredible.
Can you imagine that? That hunger for learning?
It's a reminder, isn't it?
Yeah.
The human spirit.
Yeah.
Even when faced with oppression, he finds a way.
Right.
You know that literacy is power.
Exactly.
Gives you power.
And then the presentation, it shows him discovering the Columbian Orator.
Yes.
Which is this collection of speeches and essays, and he's captivated by it.
Yeah.
It's like he realizes the power of language.
Right.
How to challenge injustice.
Absolutely.
And drive change.
It's more than a book for him.
Totally.
It's like the symbol of his transformation. You know, he finds his voice.
Right.
And that voice will eventually rock the nation.
And then fast forward, the presentation, it shows Douglass. He's a free man now.
Yeah.
He's standing tall at an anti-slavery convention.
Powerful image.
Oh my gosh. And he's sharing his experiences with slavery, and it just...
Can you imagine being in that room?
Oh, I get chills just thinking about it.
The power, his ability to inspire action.
I was going to say, he doesn't just inform, he inspires.
Exactly.
People are compelled to join the fight.
He makes you want to be an ally.
Okay, so before we go too much further,
for
those who might not know,
Right.
who was Frederick Douglass?
So Frederick Douglass, he was more than just a formerly enslaved person.
Okay.
He was a social reformer, abolitionist, an orator, a writer, and a statesman.
Wow.
He dedicated his life to equality and justice for everybody.
Okay, so these sources we're working with, they connect Douglass's life to Texas STAR standards for 8th grade history.
Which is great because it shows how important it is to understand U.S. history.
Right, those major eras like...
Exactly, like the Civil War and Reconstruction.
Right.
Exploring his life helps us really grasp why those events happen.
The impact, right.
Exactly.
Like, it makes it come alive.
It does. Instead of just memorizing dates and names,
Right.
It helps us understand, even today, how we're still affected by it.
Now, for the really cool part.
Right.
You can have a virtual conversation with Frederick Douglass.
No way.
Using this Humy.ai chatbot.
Get out of here.
Imagine, like, asking him questions
Wow.
directly about his experiences.
That's incredible.
It's like having a personal history tutor.
I love it.
Okay, so speaking of which, let's look at this teacher's guide that we have.
You're right.
It outlines 4 activities
Okay.
that build on this conversation with Douglass.
It's going to be good.
Okay, so the first one, Portfolio 1, analyzing the impact of slavery. So this focuses on, like, the big question.
Okay.
How did slavery shape the United States?
That's a big one, right?
It's a big question.
Yeah, it's not just like one answer. It's so complicated.
Right, and the guide encourages you to actually ask the Frederick Douglass chatbot for his viewpoint,
Okay.
which is so cool to get his perspective.
So cool.
And then there's a self-assessment to kind of see where you're at
I like that
with your work.
So you can gauge your progress.
You go all the way from, like, apprentice historian to legendary historian.
Oh, I want to be a legendary historian.
Me too.
That sounds very official.
Right.
Right.
Okay, the next one, Portfolio 2, examining Douglass's perspective, challenges you to analyze a document he wrote.
Oh, wow. Getting into the primary sources.
So this is where you really test your skills.
Yeah, you got to think critical.
The guide, it recommends asking the chatbot for context on the document.
Makes sense.
And researching the history behind it.
Of course. Got to know the background.
So it's really interesting.
Just like being a historian, right?
Yeah.
Putting on your detective hat.
And this rubric goes from novice analyst to expert analyst.
Ooh, I like it.
Okay, so Portfolio 3. This one sounds really fun.
Okay, let's hear it.
Showcasing the abolitionist movement through a digital museum exhibit.
Oh, wow.
It's so creative.
Yeah, you get to bring history to life.
Imagine using Google Sites or Canva.
Oh, I love Canva.
Yeah.
The possibilities.
I know, right? And there's a rubric to guide you
Okay.
with levels from like curator and training to master curator.
I want to be a master curator. That sounds even better than a legendary historian.
You know, right?
We can have matching outfits.
Okay, finally, Portfolio 4, raising awareness of social justice. This is where we're bringing it to the present day.
Oh, okay.
So you have to develop a social media campaign about a social justice issue that's connected to Douglas.
I like that.
So it could be about education or something.
That's a good one.
It's so interesting.
Start connection.
And the guide actually recommends looking at what's effective on social media now.
Smart.
Because it's different than it was then, right?
Oh, yeah. Totally different world.
Like, imagine if Frederick Douglass had a Twitter.
Oh, my God.
Can you imagine?
That would be amazing.
The things he would say.
Right.
Okay, and of course, there's a rubric
Of course.
to help you track your progress as a,
Yeah.
social media newbie to social media champion.
Oh, I want to be a champion of something.
Okay, so to wrap up this first part of our deep dive,
Okay.
we're going to take a look at this vocabulary list
Oh, yes. The vocabulary is so important.
from the teacher's guide. And these are key terms that'll help us really understand,
The context, right.
yes, the context of his life.
Because words change, meaning it's important to know
Oh, for sure.
what they meant back then.
So we have things like abolitionism,
Right. The movement to end slavery.
antebellum.
Antebellum, so that means like before the war.
Oh, okay.
Usually talking about before the Civil War.
Chattel slavery.
Yeah, that one's always like chilling to me.
It is, because you're talking about people as property.
Exactly. Treated like objects,
Emancipation.
which is the act of being freed from slavery.
Right.
Super important.
Fugitive Slave Act.
Which, forced people to return escaped slaves.
Yeah.
It's hard to even imagine
It is.
having to live with those laws.
See,
Narrative. So we're talking about Douglas's autobiography.
Oh, okay.
Narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, an American slave.
Reconstruction era.
Reconstruction. That's after the Civil War, when they were rebuilding the South.
Okay.
Trying to figure out how to integrate formerly enslaved people into society.
And lastly, Underground Railroad.
Underground Railroad, that secret network of routes and safe houses used by people escaping slavery.
These terms are so powerful.
They really are.
They're more than just definitions.
Right. It's like they represent those struggles.
Yes.
And the complexities of this crazy time in American history.
By understanding them, we can really appreciate his journey.
And the legacy of his fight.
Yes.
For equality, for everybody.
Back again, diving even deeper into Frederick Douglass.
It's amazing, though. It's like, it's not just about the facts. It's what you do with them.
Totally.
And these portfolio activities, they really make you think about those, like, aha moments.
Right, those connections.
Yeah.
Okay, so Portfolio 1.
Mm-hmm.
Analyzing the impact of slavery.
Yeah.
This asks, like, the biggest question.
It does. It's like a big one.
How did slavery shape the United States?
Because it's not just one thing.
It's not.
It's like every single thing.
It's economic, it's social.
It's political.
It's everything.
Everything.
And I love that this encourages you to ask the Frederick Douglass chatbot
Oh, yeah.
for his viewpoint.
What does he think?
I know, right? What
Well,
surprised you?
It's easy to get caught up
Yeah.
in brutality,
Of course.
which we have to.
We do.
But we also have to remember the resilience of those enslaved.
So true.
Like Douglas, he resisted.
Right. Right.
He held on to his dignity.
Yes.
He fought constantly for freedom.
And that's a message that
That resonates, right?
it does. It echoes even today.
Even today.
Okay, Portfolio 2. Examining Douglass's perspective.
Okay?
This one focuses on his writing.
So you're slowing down.
Yes.
You're really engaging.
You have to. There's
You can't skim this.
no.
This is deep dive.
Deep dive
You'll
into
get
his
it.
words.
It's like stepping into his shoes.
Exactly.
And seeing the world as he saw it.
Trying to understand, like, what was he thinking?
Right. What was his purpose?
What was his voice?
And the historical context.
So important.
I feel like that gives you such a different...
You can't just take things at face value.
No. You have to really understand where it's coming from.
Okay, now this one, Portfolio 3. I love this one.
Okay, this is the museum one, right?
This is the interactive digital museum,
That's so cool.
showcasing the abolitionist movement.
Bringing it to life.
I know, and in such a cool way.
And there's so many great tools now.
I know. I was geeking out over the design possibilities.
Oh, yeah. It's
Like, imagine interactive timelines on Canva.
oh, so cool, right?
Right.
You're not just reading, you're experiencing.
Okay, and then bringing it to today, Portfolio 4. Raising awareness of social justice.
Yes. Taking it to the streets.
Or to social media.
Right.
So you're developing a whole social media campaign.
About something that matters.
Yes. About a social justice issue that connects to Douglas's legacy.
Still relevant.
I know, right?
Yeah.
What kind of strategies came to mind when you were thinking about this?
Well, they tell you to really look at, like,
Yeah.
what's effective on social media.
Right, right.
Because it's so different now.
What makes something stand out?
Right. What makes you stop scrolling?
It's like what we were saying.
Yeah.
Imagine if Frederick Douglass was on Twitter.
Oh, my God.
It'd be amazing.
I know, right? What would his handle be?
I don't know.
We got to workshop that.
Okay, but really, though,
Okay.
as we're reflecting on all of this,
Yeah.
one thing is so clear.
What's that?
Frederick Douglass's story
Yeah.
is not just about the past.
No, it's still happening.
It's still so relevant
Still so much to learn.
and to carry with us. So we're nearing the end of our Frederick Douglass journey. And wow, I'm feeling so inspired.
I know, right? We've gone from his childhood to reading his actual words to, like, chatting with him through AI.
It's wild. But there's more.
There is.
The teacher's guide has these extra challenges, like bonus levels.
Oh, cool. For those who really want to, like, take it to the next level.
Exactly. So one of them is all about what if scenarios. Like, what if a key event in Douglass's life went differently? Or in the whole fight for abolition?
Ooh, that's good. It makes you think about cause and effect, but, like, in a deeper way.
Right. Not just accepting what happened, but like really analyzing it.
Love that. You could spend forever exploring those possibilities.
Totally. And then there's one where you become a historical figure, like you step into their shoes
Oh, fun.
and write a Dear Diary entry.
Oh, wow. So you have to really get in their head.
Yeah, like what were their hopes and dreams? What were they afraid of?
Especially in those times, you know? Facing such huge obstacles.
Absolutely. And for anyone who loves museums, there's a challenge to create an artifact spotlight.
Okay. I like that.
You pick one object from that era
Hmm.
and research everything about it.
It's like that saying, if these walls could talk, but it's the objects, right?
Exactly. They have so many stories to tell.
And then there's that challenge to host an Ask Me Anything on social media as Frederick Douglass.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Can you imagine?
So, like, bringing him into our world.
I know, right? And then finally,
Yeah.
it suggests organizing a whole expert panel.
Oh, cool. Like a discussion.
Yes, with people who've done different challenges.
I love that. Because everyone would have such different perspectives.
Exactly. So no matter how you choose to dive in, one thing's for sure. Frederick Douglass's story, his resilience, his fight for equality, it stays with you.
It does. It makes you think about what you're doing to make the world a better place.
Yes. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought. Given all the talk these days about AI, how would Frederick Douglass, a champion of human rights, view this AI chatbot we've been using?
It's a great question. Would he see it as a tool for good? A way to learn and connect? Or would he be wary of it?
It's something to think about.
Yeah.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this incredible exploration of Frederick Douglass. Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery.